Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pod English for Everyone. I'm Sarah, and as always, I'm really happy to have you here. Whether you're listening while you're driving, walking outside, relaxing at home, or taking a short break during your day, thank you for spending these next few minutes with me. Today, I want to talk about something that completely changed the way I think about learning English. It's not a secret method, a magical app, or a complicated grammar course. In fact, it's much simpler than that. The biggest difference between learners who improve every year and those who feel stuck isn't intelligence. It isn't talent either. Most of the time, the difference comes from their daily habits. Many people imagine that becoming fluent means studying for 3 or 4 hours every day. They picture themselves sitting at a desk, surrounded by grammar books, notebooks, dictionaries, and hundreds of vocabulary lists. When they realize they don't have that much free time, they often tell themselves they'll start later. Maybe next week, maybe next month. Maybe after work becomes less busy, maybe after the holidays. But that perfect moment almost never arrives. Life is always busy. There will always be responsibilities, unexpected problems, family events, work, school, or days when you simply don't feel motivated. That's why waiting for the perfect moment is one of the biggest mistakes an English learner can make. Instead of asking yourself when you'll finally have enough time, ask yourself something different. What can I do today, even if I only have 20 or 30 minutes? That small change of mindset can completely transform your progress. Imagine two different students. The first student studies English for 5 hours on Saturday, but doesn't practice again until the following weekend. The second student only spends 25 or 30 minutes every day listening, speaking, reading, and reviewing. After a few months, who do you think will feel more comfortable speaking English? Usually, it's the second learner. Why? Because languages grow through repetition. Your brain loves patterns. Every time you hear a familiar expression, your brain recognizes it a little faster. Every time you say the same sentence with slightly different words, your confidence grows. Learning a language isn't about collecting information. It's about creating habits. Think about brushing your teeth. You probably don't spend an hour doing it. You simply do it every day without asking yourself whether you feel motivated. Imagine if learning English became just another healthy habit like that. No pressure, no stress, just something that naturally becomes part of your routine. Maybe you listen to an English podcast while making breakfast. Maybe you review a few expressions before going to sleep. Maybe you spend 5 minutes describing your day while you're taking a walk. None of these activities seem extraordinary by themselves. But together, day after day, they create something powerful. One of the best ways to improve is to stop separating English from your real life. Many learners only use English when they open a textbook. The moment they close it, English disappears. Instead, try bringing English into your daily routine. Look around the room you're sitting in right now. What can you see? Could you describe it? Maybe there's a comfortable sofa. Perhaps there's a large window letting sunlight into the room. Maybe your phone is charging next to you. There could be a cup of coffee on the table. Simple observations like these are excellent practice because they're connected to your real environment. The more personal your English becomes, the easier it is to remember. The same idea works everywhere. If you're preparing lunch, try naming the ingredients in English. If you're cleaning your apartment, describe each task. I'm washing the dishes. I'm cleaning the kitchen. I'm opening the windows. I'm organizing my desk. I'm watering my plants. These aren't difficult sentences. But they're useful, they're practical. Most importantly, they're sentences you can actually imagine using in real life. As your confidence grows, you can begin adding more details. Instead of saying, I'm making coffee, you could say, I'm making a cup of coffee before I start working because I know it's going to be a busy morning. See the difference? You're no longer memorizing isolated vocabulary. You're communicating ideas. That's exactly what language is supposed to do. Another habit that many successful learners develop is becoming more curious. Instead of thinking, I don't know this word, they think, that's interesting. I wonder how native speakers usually say this. Curiosity changes everything. Suddenly, learning stops feeling like homework. It becomes an opportunity to discover something new. For example, if you hear an expression during a movie or a podcast, don't immediately try to memorize 20 new words. Choose one useful sentence. Only one. Then make it your own. Let's imagine you hear, I've been looking forward to this all week. Now create similar sentences. I've been looking forward to my vacation. I've been looking forward to seeing my family. I've been looking forward to this weekend. Without realizing it, you're practicing grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and fluency at the same time. Another important thing to remember is that your brain doesn't learn much from passive listening alone. If English stays in your ears but never leaves your mouth, your progress will be much slower. That's why speaking, even alone, is incredibly valuable. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't even need another person. Simply talking to yourself for 1 minute every day can make a surprising difference after a few months. Describe your plans. Talk about your hobbies. Explain what happened during your day. Tell a short story. Ask yourself questions and answer them. The goal isn't to sound like a native speaker tomorrow. The goal is to become a little more comfortable every single day. Little by little, you'll notice something interesting. You'll stop translating every sentence from your native language. Instead, ideas will begin appearing directly in English. That moment doesn't happen overnight. It happens because you practice consistently, one small conversation at a time. And that's exactly what this podcast is here to help you do. As you continue learning English, something else begins to change besides your vocabulary. You start paying more attention to the way people communicate. You notice that language isn't only about words. It's also about emotions, confidence, habits, and understanding other people. Have you ever met someone for the first time and immediately felt comfortable talking to them? Or maybe you met someone and felt a little uncomfortable, even though they were polite. Sometimes we don't know exactly why we have these feelings. Our brains naturally make quick judgments based on body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, and many other small details. These first impressions aren't always correct, but they remind us that communication is much more than grammar. When you're learning English, it's important to develop another skill besides speaking. That skill is observation. Good communicators are usually excellent observers. They listen carefully. They notice how people answer questions. They notice when someone sounds excited, worried, relaxed, or uncertain. The more you observe, the easier conversations become. This is one reason why listening practice is so valuable. Don't only listen to understand the words. Listen to understand the speaker. Ask yourself simple questions. How do they sound? Are they speaking quickly because they're excited? Do they pause before answering difficult questions? Are they using formal language or speaking casually? These little details help you understand natural English much faster than memorizing grammar rules alone. Another important habit is learning to accept mistakes without feeling embarrassed. Many learners stop speaking because they're afraid of making errors. But think about children learning their first language. They make thousands of mistakes. Nobody expects them to speak perfectly. Instead, every mistake becomes another opportunity to learn. Adults often forget this. We expect ourselves to sound fluent before we've had enough practice. Imagine deciding not to ride a bicycle because you might lose your balance the first time. It wouldn't make much sense, would it? Learning English works exactly the same way. You become more confident by speaking, not before speaking. Confidence is built through action. Every conversation teaches your brain something new. Sometimes you'll learn a new word. Sometimes you'll discover a better pronunciation. Sometimes you'll simply realize that people understood you, even though your sentence wasn't perfect. And that's a wonderful feeling. One exercise I always recommend is recording yourself once a day. Choose a simple topic. Talk about your morning. Describe your favorite meal. Explain what you did last weekend. Share one goal you have for the future. At first, listening to your own voice may feel a little strange. That's completely normal. Almost everyone feels that way. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is believing that learning is only about remembering words. Of course, vocabulary is important. Without words, it's impossible to communicate. But knowing hundreds or even thousands of words doesn't automatically mean you'll feel comfortable having a conversation. Real communication is something much deeper. It's about understanding ideas, expressing emotions, asking questions, and connecting with people. Think about your native language for a moment. When you speak with your family or your friends, you probably don't think about grammar rules before every sentence. You simply communicate. Your goal isn't to build the perfect sentence. Your goal is to share an idea. That's exactly the mindset we want to build in English. Instead of asking yourself, did I use the correct tense? Try asking, did the other person understand what I wanted to say? Communication always comes first. Grammar simply helps make that communication clearer. Another habit that can transform your English is becoming comfortable with uncertainty. Many learners become frustrated whenever they hear an unfamiliar word. They immediately stop listening because they want to understand everything. But imagine watching your favorite movie. If you miss one sentence, do you stop watching? Of course not. You continue because you know you'll understand the overall story. Listening to English should feel the same. Your brain doesn't need every single word. It needs enough information to understand the general message. As you continue listening every day, those unknown words slowly become familiar. One day, you'll hear an expression you've heard many times before, and suddenly, you'll understand it without translating. That moment feels incredible, not because you memorized a definition, but because your brain naturally recognized the meaning through repetition. That's how language becomes automatic. This is also why patience is so important. We live in a world where everything seems to happen instantly. We can order food in minutes. We can watch thousands of videos whenever we want. We can search for almost any answer in just a few seconds. Because of this, many people expect language learning to work just as quickly. But languages don't follow that rhythm. They're much closer to learning a musical instrument or practicing a sport. Imagine learning to play the piano. Would you expect to perform a beautiful concert after practicing for only 1 week? Probably not. You understand that musicians improve little by little. The same is true for athletes. Nobody goes to the gym twice and expects dramatic results. They trust the process. Language learning deserves exactly the same patience. Every podcast you listen to trains your ears. Every article you read strengthens your vocabulary. Every sentence you speak teaches your brain how English naturally flows. Even when you don't notice immediate progress, your brain is quietly building new connections. Sometimes learners tell me, "Sarah, I don't think I'm improving." When I hear that, I usually ask them a few simple questions. Can you understand more than you could 6 months ago? Can you watch videos that used to feel impossible? Can you introduce yourself more confidently? Can you understand the general idea of a conversation? Almost always, the answer is yes. The problem isn't a lack of progress. The problem is that we become so focused on how far we still have to go that we forget how far we've already come. That's why I encourage you to celebrate small victories. Maybe today you understood a joke in English. Maybe you recognized a phrasal verb without looking it up. Maybe you watched an entire video without subtitles. Those moments matter. They're signs that your hard work is paying off. Another habit that can make a huge difference is asking yourself questions throughout the day. If you're preparing breakfast, ask yourself, what ingredients am I using? If you're walking outside, ask, how would I describe today's weather? If you're shopping, ask, what do I need to buy? Then answer those questions in English. These tiny conversations with yourself are excellent practice because they're connected to real situations. You're no longer studying artificial examples from a textbook. You're using English to think about your own life. Little by little, English becomes part of your daily routine instead of becoming a separate activity that only happens during study time. Another important thing to remember is that every learner has strengths. Some people learn vocabulary very quickly. Others have excellent pronunciation. Some understand movies easily but feel nervous when speaking. Others enjoy conversations but find grammar difficult. This is completely normal. You don't need to compare yourself with anyone else. Your English journey belongs to you. The only comparison that really matters is between the person you were yesterday and the person you are becoming today. If today's version of you knows one more expression, if you feel just a little more confident, if speaking feels even slightly easier, then you're moving in the right direction. And that's something to be proud of. Never forget that fluency isn't built during one amazing study session. It's built through hundreds of ordinary days when you decided to keep going. Some days you'll have plenty of energy. Other days you'll only have 10 minutes. That's okay. Those 10 minutes still count. Every small effort becomes another brick in the strong foundation you're building. One day you'll have a conversation in English and suddenly realize something surprising. You're no longer thinking about every sentence. You're simply talking. You'll smile because you'll remember the days when even introducing yourself felt difficult. And in that moment, you'll understand something very important. You didn't become fluent because you were perfect. You became fluent because you never stopped learning, never stopped practicing, and never gave up on yourself. As we come to the end of today's episode, I'd like you to remember one simple idea. Learning English isn't a race. You don't have to be the fastest learner. You don't have to know every grammar rule. And you certainly don't need to compare yourself with someone who's been studying for years. Your only goal is to become a little better than you were yesterday. Some days that progress will be obvious. You'll understand an entire conversation. You'll remember new expressions without thinking. You'll speak more confidently than ever before. Other days, it might feel like nothing is changing. You may forget words you learned last week. You may struggle to understand a podcast that seemed easy before. You may even wonder if you're making any progress at all. When those days come, don't be discouraged. Learning a language is never perfectly smooth. Every learner experiences moments of doubt. The important thing is not how quickly you improve. The important thing is that you keep going. Remember that every minute you spend listening to English is training your ears. Every page you read is expanding your vocabulary. Every sentence you speak is building confidence. Every mistake is teaching your brain something valuable. Nothing is wasted. Even when you don't notice immediate results, your brain is quietly learning in the background. Think about everything we've talked about today. Building simple daily habits, using English in your everyday life, speaking without waiting for perfection, listening for ideas instead of translating every single word, being patient with yourself, celebrating small victories. These habits may seem simple on their own, but together they create something incredibly powerful. One day you'll wake up and realize that English no longer feels like a school subject. It becomes a tool that allows you to travel with confidence, to meet people from different cultures, to watch movies without depending on subtitles, to read books that once seemed impossible, to discover new opportunities in your career, and perhaps most importantly, to communicate with millions of people all around the world. That's the real purpose of learning a language. Not to be perfect, but to connect. So, wherever you are on your English journey today, I hope you're proud of yourself. Because choosing to learn something new takes courage. It takes patience. It takes determination. And every single step you take matters. Even if today's lesson only helped you learn one new expression, even if today's episode simply reminded you to keep practicing, then we've already made progress together. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to leave you with a small challenge. Tomorrow, find just 10 minutes. Only 10. Listen to a short podcast. Read one page of an English book. Describe your morning out loud. Or simply think about your day in English while you're walking. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Because those small moments, repeated again and again, are what eventually create extraordinary results. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It truly means a lot that you've chosen Pod English for Everyone to be part of your English learning journey. I hope today's episode gave you new ideas, new motivation, and most importantly, the confidence to keep moving forward one step at a time. If you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. And I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me one thing. What topic would you like me to cover in our next podcast? Your ideas help shape future episodes, and there's a good chance your suggestion will inspire our next lesson. Thank you once again for listening. Take care of yourself, keep practicing every day, stay curious, and remember, every conversation starts with a single sentence, every journey begins with a single step, and every fluent English speaker was once a beginner who decided not to give up. I'm Sarah. This has been Pod English for Everyone. And I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep learning, keep believing in yourself, and keep speaking English. Bye, everyone.
Hey, thanks for being here.
If you like this episode, drop a comment and tell us what you want next.
New episodes every week. Don't miss the next one.
Hit subscribe, turn on notification,
and keep improving your English. See you next time.